What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon, late afternoon now. Hope you guys are still doing well. And ESPN is doing some more fun off-season work. Aaron Schatz posted a fun article this morning. Want to go ahead and take a look at it. This is something that ESPN has posted up for the last several years now. We've talked about it before, and I think that it's a pretty illuminating look at every team in the NFL. So definitely check this out if you haven't seen it yet. It is a ranking of every NFL team by under 25 talent, which is, of course, the players on the team that are good or promise to be good or will likely be good who are under 25 years old. So basically, it's a measure of how good your team is likely to be over the next couple years. It's how good your foundation is as a team, because those are the guys that you're expecting to be good for you for the next several years. I think we all understand why having good young players is important. And while it might not be as impactful on the current team, it is very impactful on the team you're going to have down the line. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. And look, last year, this article came out. The Seahawks ranked at number 2. They were second in the entire NFL in young talent last season. And it was pretty clear why, right? JSN, Devin Witherspoon, Charles Cross. I can't remember if Abe Lucas was considered part of the equation, but, Gray Zabel was a first-round pick at that point. I don't know if Nick Eamon-Wari was on people's maps at that point, but if he was, then that's another good one. There was a lot of good young talent on that team. Byron Murphy, you could probably, I guess, AJ Barner, although AJ Barner kind of broke out last year, there was still something intriguing about him, even as early as last season. So last year, the team was swimming in young talent. And this year, you would expect that things will have gone down a little bit because players are getting a little bit older. And the most recent draft, while the Seahawks did what they could, it was not a very good draft, and the Seahawks had low picks in that draft. So you wouldn't expect a lot of replenishment to be happening right now. And therefore, you would expect the Seahawks to look a little bit worse on this list. So let's take a look at what Aaron Schatz has here. All ages are as of September 1st, 2026. Blue chip players are the top 60 cornerstone assets around the league from whom teams will likely derive their biggest future value. And the methodology is a bunch of different things. How many starts a player has made, how many snaps, the value and length of player contracts. There's a lot going into it. All right, so let's just go ahead and cut to the chase here. The Seahawks come in this year at number 8. They are 8th on this list after ranking 2nd last year. And it's not hard to understand why they have been bumped down. Like I said, they've lost a couple of guys from this group. Now, one of the players that has graduated, and when they say graduated, what they mean is last year they were under 25. Now they are 25 or, 25. So basically, they're no longer considered for this exercise. Now, one of the players listed is Anthony Bradford, and whether or not that's a big piece of the equation is obviously pretty debatable, but he is a starter and he does play a lot. But two of the players that were lost were Charles Cross and Devin Witherspoon. And who was added to the group in terms of blue chippers? Nobody. All these guys were guys we had last year. So it makes sense why the ranking would go down. But sitting here at number 8, despite everything that I just said, still pretty incredible. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams, where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer. Best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today and remember to always gamble responsibly. So the blue chippers that they give us in this article are Eamon Worry, Murphy, JSN, and Zabel. So that's pretty strong. That's pretty much on point. Those are the four guys that you know are at the very least good and are also young enough to where, other than I'd say JSN, because JSN can't really get better, guys who are going to get better over the next couple of years. They do list some other players as well. AJ Barner is mentioned in this write-up here, and Elijah Arroyo as well. Obviously, Barner is much further ahead, but Arroyo is also younger. And they also mentioned Torrey Horton, who I don't know if Horton will ever be a star player or anything like that, but he's still a good young piece to have around, and he's certainly well worth the rookie deal he has. Jadarian Price is mentioned, which I mean, I think that by this time next year, Price will be at least on the cusp of being a blue chip player in this group. I don't think he'll ever be a star. I don't see a scenario where Jadarian Price becomes some 1,500-yard running back, but he'll clearly be a positive player for this team. And there aren't a lot of great running backs out there realistically. And then they mentioned Bud Clark and Julian Neal, who, I mean, could go one way or the other easily, but they're good young talent right now. So I think that basically captures all the intriguing young talent on this team right now. Christian Haynes is over 25 now, and I don't think at this point there's much of anything to be said about him. He's unfortunately not the guy we thought we were getting when we drafted him. Guys like I said, Abe Lucas and Charles Cross have aged out, so we can't really talk about them now. Charbonnet has aged out, I believe. So when you take a look at the context, makes a good deal of sense. But let's look at the teams that are ahead of them. Like, you got the Jets here. And I mean, I understand that their blue chips might be a little bit more valuable than our blue chips in terms of positional value, but they only gave the Jets 2 blue chips, right? And like do they have a young quarterback? They have Cade Klubnik. But like if you go through the write-up for the Jets here, Malachi Moore, Azaria Thomas, D'Angelo Ponce, these are not like sure thing guys at all. I don't consider any of those guys to be any more or less likely to make it than any other random day 2 draft pick you can find across the league right now. Now, their offense is a little bit better off. Olu Fashanu is there. They had Armand Membo up here already. Omar Cooper, I guess he was a first-round pick, so okay. Adonai Mitchell, you can't tell me there's much of anything there. Kenyon Sadiq, I do like. Mason Taylor, I like, but I don't think the Jets are happier with their under 25 player situation than the Seahawks. You go up to the Raiders. Yeah, and look, they've got all these super high draft picks in recent years. They didn't lose that much with the graduated players. They've still got guys like Jack Beck and Dante Thornton, who I'm also a fan of. JPJ is still hanging around. So, okay, I can kind of get that one. Titans, you've got the quarterback. And look, the quarterback is just going to plainly and simply be more valuable than players at other positions because it's the quarterback. Cornell Tate, and then you've got some other guys. I still don't know, though. Like, if not for Cam Ward putting his thumb on the scale, this would be a pretty underwhelming set of young players in my mind. Like, is Cedric Gray really that good? Is Kevin Winston somebody that you can count on at all? I like Anthony Hill Jr. a lot, but he is a linebacker. Gunnar Helm, not really that exciting. So even them, I don't know. Now the Browns, all right, they've got some stuff kind of cooking here. They've got plenty of young talent, but honestly, once you start going through this list, I kind of feel like Seattle still should have been a little bit higher than they were. New England, by the way, was number 1, and that's understandable because of Drake May, if nothing else. And don't get me wrong, a team like Houston with guys like Will Anderson still under 25, Ursary, Lassiter, CJ Stroud, as much as Stroud is not what we were necessarily thinking that he was a few years ago, I still think that's pretty agreeable. They've got other young players as well that are interesting. I like Jaden Higgins a lot. Kalen Bullock is good. Still, though, I think you could make a pretty compelling argument Seattle should have been like 6th or maybe even 5th, because I'm looking at some of these other teams they have ahead of them, and it's like, I don't think I'd trade their young players for our young players. I don't. And I'm not saying that just because of circumstance. I'm saying in a vacuum. Now, one thing that's interesting. You look at this list. You got the Patriots, you got the Texans, Bears, Browns, Titans, Raiders, Jets, and then the Seahawks. There's only one NFC team higher than the Seahawks on this list, the Bears. So even though the Seahawks go down to 8, they are second in their own conference behind only Chicago. And you take a look at the write-up they did on Chicago, and they include Rome Odunze there, which getting a little bit late for that if I had to nitpick a little bit here, but Luther Burden maybe belongs there, so maybe you just kind of trade those guys out and it's understandable, but there's not a ton of young stuff on that defense that I'm into other than Dylan Thieneman, so even that, like, yeah, the Bears are better than us in terms of young talent because of they have the young quarterback, but even that's not over the top to me. Now, again, Seattle's 8th, but the other interesting thing is, as you go through this article, that is still leaps and bounds better than any other team in this division. Every other team in this division is in the bottom half of this list. The Cardinals are stuck at 19th. Their only blue chips are Harrison and Love. And look, Harrison, I don't think he's running out of time yet, but we're getting to the point where we have to start wondering if maybe this isn't just going to go the way we thought. You've got other good young players as well, Trey Benson, I guess Carson Beck, but I definitely wouldn't consider him much of a big part of the equation here. Chase Bizontis, who is a rookie, and it does actually, like, if you're going to talk about Chase as a boon, obviously he is when you're talking about young players, but he's still a second-round pick. You do have to pump the brakes a little bit here. They got some young talent on defense as well, so they're basically close to the middle, but they're second place in the division. So that kind of tells you that, yeah, I don't know if Seattle's still the best team in the West. We'll find out on the football field over the next several months. But the future, much brighter in Seattle. And just to kind of reiterate that, you can keep on going and keep on going, looking for more young talent here in the NFC West. The Niners are at 27 after being 30th last year, so they're actually a little bit better, but their only blue chip is Michael Williams, who tore his, ACL last year? Either ACL or Achilles. They do have a lot of intriguing young players like Mustafa and Sigil and Upton Stout, Alfred Collins, but do they have any guys that are going to be good? Not really. That's kind of the thing here. Like, again, there's one blue chipper here, and then you have a bunch of guys who might be okay. Deshaun Stribling's another one, Kalon Black, Jordan James. There is interesting stuff, but you don't feel great about any of it except for, I would say, Michael, and Michael's coming off the big injury. So it's definitely dicey when you're talking about this Niners team in their youth, because it feels like all the guys they mention in this article, with the exception of Williams, it would not be shocking if they were all out of the league or playing backup roles in 3 to 4 years. And then you keep going and you keep going, you get down to the very bottom, and you've got the LA Rams. So the Rams may be first in Super Bowl odds on a lot of people's lists, but they are last in young talent. Not a lot of young talent in the NFC West. Seattle is 8th, which is not stellar. They're still head and shoulders above everybody else, and you've got 2 teams at the very bottom here, including the very bottom. And again, it's not hard to see why. 2 of their best players, McDuffie and Puka, just turned 25. Their only blue chip is a quarterback that's not even going to play this year, and in my mind is not even really a blue chip, but for the purposes of this article, I guess he is. They do have a couple of decent players that are younger, like Kinchins and Terrence Ferguson, Max Clare, the second-round rookie tight end they took, as much as he'll be able to play. But you can see how sparse it is. Like, with the other teams, at least you were able to get a couple of paragraphs talking about their intriguing players under 25. For the Rams, you've got, like, 4 guys. One of them being the quarterback that hopefully for them won't play this year. So it's it does kind of illustrate the fact that Seattle is built for the future in a way that other teams in this division are not necessarily built. And things can change, obviously. Some of these players won't work out. Some players will come out of nowhere. But right now, if you're talking about the next few years, you'd probably rather be Seattle than any other team in the NFC West. Now, maybe you'd rather be the Rams for this year because they do have the higher end roster in terms of ceiling. But maybe in the long run, it works out better. All right, more stuff coming soon. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Just wanted to talk about this fun article. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you feel about it, and I'll see you guys soon.